Before I begin, I have a bit of a strange favor to ask you all. I'm going to ask you all to just look at me. That's right, just for a moment. Think about your first impression, my key features, anything at all that stands out. And yes, I know, it's not every day that someone invites you to stare at them, but let's think about this for a moment. What did you see? A student? A speaker? Someone standing here confidently? To most of you, I probably just seem like your ordinary person. But here's the thing, looks can be deceiving. What most of you guys actually don't know is that I was born completely deaf. I have what's called Pendred syndrome, a recessive genetic disorder that not only causes hearing loss or deafness, but balance problems, thyroid issues, and other glamorous things. As a toddler, I was bilaterally implanted with cochlear implants, a device that is both internal and external. Essentially, what it does is it bypasses the damaged part of the ear and sends electrical signals to the auditory nerve, where my brain has then learned to interpret it as sound. And yes, that scary-looking X-ray up there is the inside of my head. However, doing that surgery and getting really cool X-rays didn't solve all problems. The common misconception about implants is that it's like flipping a switch. 1 second I'm deaf, and the next I'm not. But I do not hear the way you hear. It's taken years of intense speech therapy and hard work, not just from myself, but from an amazing community, to get me to a place where I could develop normal speech and listening skills. And even after all this hard work, I still have a 35 decibel or so hearing loss. And I hear sound, which that in itself is a miracle. But many times that sound can be incomprehensible. Even now when the TV is on in a different language, I would not be able to differentiate English from Spanish or German. So you can imagine the struggle that I face in my everyday life. I struggled when I was little, and I continue to struggle now. I've learned to make it harder and harder for people to see that struggle, but it is still there. You might think that's challenging, but there's more. The normal hearing ear has 12,000 hair cells that send a full spectrum of sound information to the brain. And in place of those hair cells, I have electrodes instead, which are weaved into my cochlea, and they send electrical signals to the hearing nerve. This means that I don't receive sound with the same depth and complexity as you do. While the average person has thousands and thousands of these hair cells, I only have 16 electrodes in my right ear and 14 in my left. People often have a hard time visualizing this, so here's an analogy that I like to share. I want you guys to imagine you've been given a pack of crayons. You know, the kind that the restaurant gives you to color in the menu when you were little? And I want you to imagine taking those crayons and using them to color in all the colors that exist in this world. And yes, for the artists out there, you have your primary colors and you could blend. But that still sounds difficult, right? It would be tiring. You wouldn't quite be able to capture the colors as they truly are. And you might end up coloring some things incorrectly because those few crayons were your only tools. The same situation applies to me and my implants. My brain and my implants are my only tools in terms of capturing all the diverse sounds that exist in this world. And to have these tools is a blessing, but I'm still forced to use them to capture far more than what they are capable of. There is not a day that goes by where I haven't asked someone to repeat themselves an embarrassing amount of times. More often than I would like to admit, people, they get frustrated and they dismiss me. This subtle autism leaves a bigger mark on me than they would think. Because through those actions, they show me that I'm not worth a few seconds of their time. It shows that their inconvenience is more important than my need to understand and to be included. From this, I feel excluded constantly. And that is a difficult thing to feel in a world where community is so important to individuals. I don't necessarily fit into the deaf community, and I don't quite fit into the hearing one either. What is annoying to others, me asking them to repeat themselves or accommodate me, is essential to me. People's empathy and compassion can go a long way. That is why I want to share a story about my friend. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah and I are not close in any particular way. To each other, we're just that ordinary girl that we sometimes see in the halls of school. And we've spoken once, 2 years ago. You see, there's really no reason I should remember her at all or even be including her in this talk, except she did something that I encourage you all to do also. In my 5th period history class, I was not having a good day with my implants. The battery had died early, and all sorts of things were going wrong. And this made it easier for people to just exclude me from the collaborative effort. But Sarah, instead of getting frustrated like some, she did something remarkable. Not knowing what I was doing with that day, she simply took the time to rephrase her sentences, speak with a little more articulation, and make sure I knew what was going on. She didn't have to do this, but she did. And that meant so much to me that I still remember that one moment. Her patience and her thoughtfulness allowed me to feel included and gave me the assurance that I needed that day. Now imagine if we all took